Across the Fraser Valley, February sales were down almost everywhere. More sales, more activity, that spring rebound that everyone wants right now, well, it looks like it just hasn't shown up quite yet. But when I went through this month's numbers, one community surprised me. And you're going to want to hear this. I'm Irene, your local realtor here in my community of Mission, BC, where I've been helping people just like you for the past 20 years. And every month I go through the statistics and sales data and I break it all down so you know exactly where you stand in our market. Across the Fraser Valley, the numbers for the most part told the same old story in February. However, there was one outlier that bucked the trend. Let's get into it. February saw 843 homes sold, and that's up from January, but down 8% from last year. Inventory is sitting at over 8,300 active listings. That's about 50% above normal. Prices are down year over year across every property type. Still a slower market with a sales to active listing ratio coming in at 10%. And here's what stood out in all of the data. While the Fraser Valley combined saw a drop of 8% year over year, and Abbotsford came in down over 20%. Langley, Surrey, White Rock all down 5 to 30%. But Mission came in as the outlier, with sales jumping up by 48% from last year. Now that may surprise you, and no, it's not because of its natural beauty or its exceptionally friendly people. We've actually seen the pattern before. So stick around, and later on in the video, we're going to get into this a little deeper. If you've been thinking about making a move in Mission, this might be a good time to start that conversation. You'll find my contact information in the description box below. We'll talk about what might work for you. Now let's get into the local numbers. Total sales across all property types in Mission February saw 34 sales, and that's up slightly from 31 in January, and up from 23 sales in February of last year. Active listings currently sit at about 304, and that puts the sales to list ratio in at 11.1%, which gives us roughly 8 months worth of inventory. And just so you know, a balanced market usually sits somewhere between 4 and 5 months. So technically, we're still in a buyer's market. And I don't expect that that's going to change anytime soon, especially since the spring usually brings in even higher inventory levels. Now, breaking down Mission by sales by price range, we had 8 sales under $500,000, 12 between $500,000 and $900,000, 10 between $900,000 and $1.2 million, 9 sales between $1.2 million and $1.6 million, and absolutely nothing over $1.6 million that sold in February. The benchmark price for detached homes in Mission came in at $948,500, and that's unchanged from January. It is, however, down 10% compared to February of last year. We had 21 detached sales, and that's up by 16.7% from last year. Active listings are now at about 227 homes, giving us 10.8 months of inventory. February, it took 69 days on the market average, and that's up from January's 50 days on market average. Detached sales covered a wide range this month, and the entry-level price point, we had 2 sales under $500,000, and those were both mobile homes. Moving up into the under $900,000 range, there were 6 sales, mostly older starter homes in established neighborhoods, and those are the kind of properties that work very well for buyers getting into the market or families looking for great value. Then between 1.2 and 1.6 million, including some newer homes, a couple of acreages, and a few larger properties. And buyers did have quite a bit to choose from at the higher end for detached. What really stood out, though, when you look at the sold listings is how many of them sold well below their original asking price. In several cases, we're seeing price reductions of well over $100,000 before the home actually sold. And that tells us pretty clearly that the deals getting done right now are generally coming from sellers who are willing to adjust their price to meet the market. Townhomes were the standout in February. The benchmark price came in at $652,800. That's down less than 1% year over year, which makes it the strongest priced performance of any property in the Fraser Valley. There were 9 townhome sales, and that's up by 200% over last year. Active listings now at 42, and that's 4.67 months of inventory, which is the closest thing to a balanced market we have in Mission right now. But don't get too excited. The townhouse market here in Mission has had its challenges, especially resale. And I don't need to remind you that we are seeing a lot of new construction with more townhomes planned, and sellers of older units are having a lot more competition. It's very hard to compete with brand new. There were 9 townhome sales ranging roughly from $450,000 to about $770,000. It's a bit of a mixed bag right now. Some older, smaller units, and then some brand new 3-bedroom townhomes at the top end of this property type. And here price adjustments showed up as well. Looking through the sold data, you can see reductions of $15,000 to $80,000, and in one case, even more. Again, the pattern is similar. The homes that ultimately sold were the ones where sellers were willing to sharpen their prices. Now, for buyers looking for a family townhome under $700,000, Mission deserves a serious look. You're simply getting a lot more for your money, and it's easy to find a 3-bedroom with a really great floor plan. Even a few of them have yards. Some great deals, especially if you're willing to take on some home improvements. The benchmark price for apartments came in at $430,300, and that's down 6.4% compared to last year. And even though prices have softened, they're still holding up better than many communities where apartments have come down closer to 10%. February saw 4 sales, and that's up 100% from last year. Active listings currently sit at 35, which is actually 31% fewer listings than we had last year this time. Supply has shrunk, and it looks like sales are slowly improving. And that puts the condo market in at 8.8 months of inventory. Now, the condo market was quieter, with sales ranging between $400,000 and $470,000. This is still the most affordable entry point into the market, and the price range stayed fairly tight compared to other property types. All in all, Mission isn't doing too badly, and sales have been slow, but in comparison to the rest of the Fraser Valley, we have done better than expected. And so what's actually making the difference for Mission right now? Well, it comes down to affordability, and it always has. When buyers get priced out of Vancouver or the higher priced Fraser Valley communities, Mission starts to look a lot more attractive. We saw exactly that during the pandemic years. Buyers who couldn't compete in city markets came here, and Mission prices shot up faster than anywhere else in the Lower Mainland. But once our prices climbed to a point where affordability advantage disappeared, well, so did the buyers. And that's what we're seeing now, a market that's in reset. Sellers who've been sitting on the market, maybe they've relisted a time or two, well, they've even come to terms with where buyers actually are today. They're starting to price more realistically, and when that happens in a market like Mission, that's where the value compared to neighboring communities is still genuinely there. Buyers will show up. Now, if you're thinking about buying or selling in Mission and want to talk through what that might look like for you, you'll find my contact information in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.